Happy Wednesday, happy bank holiday second week in May, gone, done, third yet to come. I hope you had a lovely time. Whether, as I mentioned last week, whether you were a royalist or non-royalist, just get involved. You're paying £5 out your tax anyway, so you might as well enjoy the party. And as much as it was lovely, and it was historical, and it was memorable, and it was expensive, it was funny as hell. maybe that was just me, but it is great. And as mentioned last week, all the pomp and ceremony was great, but it's just the hold this, put this on, touch this, elbow that, hold that. I mean, the crown wins £7.5 on your head, and apparently had an aching neck the next day. He rang me and told me. But it some of it was just funny, just taking things off, putting things on. The screen dip this here. Is there a screen for a reason? I know I'm laughing, and then be some royalists that go, how dare you, how dare you. But some of it I've just got to laugh at, and much disgruntled to some of my family members, well, not my family, but family members who are wanting to sit and enjoy it and take it all in. And me and her husband are just taking the mick. But it was great. I still enjoyed it. And I mean, the service, being a Catholic, the service has gone long, and it's a long time since I've been to a service, but it going on a bit, didn't it? I mean, that book from the 6th century, stuff like that was pretty amazing. And it's like, hold this, hold that, and put that oven glove on. Was it sharp? I'm not sure. What was it for? But Penny Mordaunt, she stood out for me, as did she for many people. What an outfit. I mean, come on, if you're going to get it right, get it right. Not only was she like a goddess holding that sword of Grayskull, but she was so good. She looked so fine. She looked amazing. And whoever gave her the choice of that outfit, or gave her that, can't think of the word, perimenopausal, kick it in, gave her that advice. That's what I'm looking for. Advice on what to wear. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Well done, Penny Mordaunt. And I loved all the outfits. I loved all the people from the Commonwealth and how colourful they were, because I'm big on colour. And it's like, they just stood out. They I just loved it. And I loved, who doesn't love Prince Louis? I mean, he's come on lots of memes and GIFs and videos and reels and TikToks, all for the right reason. Because he's, 6? And it's just brilliant. How to take a 6-year-old to a very serious thing. Apparently on Twitter went a bit mad when he left his seat and was taken away, but apparently it was a planned break, as you would for a 6-year-old who wants to sit there and pretend everything's all right and keep still, which he doesn't, which is brilliant. But I love him. And everyone's going, oh, he's going to be a character. He's just a boy and he's 6. So he's probably bored to death. I mean, I used to be like that when I was 6, when I had to go to church and sit for an hour just listening to stuff that didn't interest me as a 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 25-year-old, apart from singing hymns. I was bored, just bored to death with a sore bum on an uncomfortable chair. So, go Prince Louis. We are seeing a few things coming up in the next couple of weeks. We did touch on them. There's lots of, there's Garforth Beer Festival. Obviously, Garforth District Lions are putting their posters out in the 8th of July. Obviously, Festival we mentioned, 15th of July. Then G-Fest in July. And then obviously the gala will be June. And then we've got in August, Gaping Goose's Beer Festival as well, which their tickets will be on sale at the end of July. I think usually they go to the pub and get your tickets. And then there's Lotherton Hall released yesterday that at the end of this month, the end of the May, they're going to release tickets for their open air cinema, 100 Years of Disney. Not my cup of tea. Don't get Disney. Sorry for all you fans out there. No, but for many with children, then they probably absolutely love it. So just keep an eye out for that on Lotherton's Facebook page, because outdoor cinemas are always really good fun. Anyway, some news yesterday which we released about some new charging points. Boring, but still good. Charging points to come to Garforth. So they've released 84 across the city. 6 will be on Gleeblands and 6 will be at Barley Hill Car Park. I just hope they're looked after more than anything. Do we need 6? it's a hard one, isn't it? Because we do need more charging points if that's the way the world will be going. And, within the next 10 years, it'll be very difficult to buy a fuel-based car. But we do need them. But they've got to be in the right place, haven't they? Eventually, I suppose, it's good to put the charging points in place before. And then, your cars, as long as they're really good charging points, and they're in an area where they're not going to get wrecked, I suppose, in parks. We'll see. Just to put up there, just a bit of a random one. I don't normally do this, but it's a friend on the Fairbairn estate. A 1-year-old cat, the little ginger cat's gone missing, and the family's very upset because normally he will go and off he'll disappear. And he's not been seen overnight, and they're just a bit worried about him. So I'm just putting it out from a friendly point of view. Moving on to something brilliant. Eurovision. I love it. Sadly, though, I would have had a party. In fact, I would have gone back home to the Wirral and enjoyed a party over there. Because Liverpool are doing an amazing job. But there's loads of things I love about Eurovision, and I'm really sad that I can't go because I'm at a wedding, my niece's wedding, and obviously that's more important. And I hope, a little bit of me is hoping she's going to stick a little bit of camp and wonderfulness of the Eurovision at some form of the wedding. But maybe that's just my hope. But I love it, and I love it because it's bringing countries together. I know it's been political in the past, and when was it, last year? But it's just so camp, it's so wonderful, it's so obscure, it's so extrovert, it's just like the colour of love. And Liverpool so far have done an amazing job. And one thing I do love about it is the awkwardness. Because it's like live TV and nobody can talk live, and it's just that little bit of people where they feel uncomfortable and they can't read properly off an autocue, especially if their English isn't their first language. Just all of it. I mean, Finland last night, did you see them? Cha 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 cha. That's going to be a song to remember. So if you are having a party, enjoy and have a laugh. That's what Eurovision's all about, is just getting into the fun side of things. And I think Thursday they've got another semi-finals, which I've never really known before, but it's quite a big thing. And the fact that the Scousers are just all over it. And if it's only going to happen anywhere, as much as I was gutted that Leeds didn't get it, Liverpool, they're just going to make it brilliant, aren't they? And it looks, all the stuff on the television that we're seeing looks amazing. And to see all the little Scousers being dragged out to go on stage. And Tom and Kitten, come on. So enjoy it if you are going to be part of the lovely Eurovision that it is. Right, moving on to something a little bit more serious. I noticed an article this morning, and it was about our older generation. I'm not going to say old. I hate the word old. We mature. We don't go old, because then the media just take that and just make you look and feel decrepit, and then people stop doing things like after I've retired and just facing death. So I hate the word old. We mature and we change, and we're still the people that we always were. But the over 65s, it was an article about banking, online banking. It was saying the over 65s prefer traditional banking over online. And the reason they prefer it is because they'll say that because they've not used it. And we have a battle with some of our family members. And the reasons are, so one, it's familiarity, isn't it? They're familiar with going to the bank, the traditional bank that's always been there, and that's what they've always done. And old people are really good at doing what they've always done. Trust. Do I trust changing what I'm doing? Do I trust somebody looking at my funds? Because generally, and not always, as we know, but if you've got a bit of money in the bank, old people tend to feel that it's better if it's tucked under the mattress somewhere. And security issues as well. So it's far better for it to be tucked under my mattress or in a cupboard at the back of something in a lid. And technology barriers as well. That's a big issue, isn't it? Like if people haven't, and it is about being shown. It's not about that generation. I grew up with electronic commerce. I was at that part where my first boss said the internet was a fad. And, being one of the first people to do computer science as such, IT in school as a GCSE. So I've grown up with it, so I get that part. But it's not impossible. Online banking now is so straightforward that it can be shown by a family member, as much as that is frustrating. And it also has its physical limitations as well, doesn't it, if you have arthritis in your fingers or whatever. However, the pros are it's convenient and it's increased accessibility. So if you have an older person over 65 who finds it difficult to get out, they don't need to, because everything's on a device. And it's improved security these days. There's two-factor authentication, perimenopausal. Basically, you're going to go 2 ways to get the security through. Like, it'll come through an email or on your mobile phone, so you can show them how safe that is. And it's sort of, they like to be organised, to older people, because they have that time. We have lots of tabs open, and we jump from one to the next until you're coming through to menopause, and then some are closed, and then you find them a couple of days later, and them tabs you should have dealt with. Not great. But old people have, if all brain is still working, old people have that, they like that organisation, they like things to be in place. So online is easy to organise and transfer and see what comes on, rather than, you know, cutting down some more trees to have paper statements all loaded up for when you pass away, for someone to then shred all them. So, you know, there's cons and pros, but I think it's something that you need to sit down with your elder relative, older, not old, older, more mature relative, and try and convince them, because life changes and they're going to be stuck behind if we don't do it. It's not, we can't write an article about people saying they prefer it. I prefer lots of things, but life just changes. So it's about the banks perhaps having teaching accessibility to the older generation, or people at home to teach them and let them know it's okay. Sad to see there's falling numbers of people voting. Not a lot of campaigning locally, and the numbers are falling year after year after year after year every time we're allowed to vote. And it's no surprising. 6 and a bit grand, we put 1,000 people, sorry, not grand, 6 and a bit thousand people voted out the, I think there's about 25,000 people in the ward. And we just need to engage more with younger people. I've got an 18-year-old, I haven't got a clue, and he's not got a clue because nobody tells him anything. Even if they get into schools, talk about local politics in schools, there's lots of students doing it. So that's what needs to happen and change. If it's not already, it's not getting to the people that need to be voting locally for when they either stay here or move to a local town. A little interesting fact, because I know that time is going on. Aldi has today released a new chocolate bar, Dido, which emanates and looks very much like Freddo. Cheaper, because Freddo's expensive. Leave it there.